Hello Year 11, this is the voice of Mr. Perrett. I've come to show you a golden opening paragraph for your literature examination. I'll be focusing on Romeo and Juliet and showing you how you can write an opening paragraph that is packed with gold and that will shine off the page when an examiner looks at your script. Okay. So what does it mean to have a golden opening paragraph? Well, you will recall that in your lessons you've been taught the following golden ideas. Ideas about how Romeo and Juliet is set at an androcentric point in time where men were considered the most important individuals in society. But that Shakespeare presents a feminist perspective from within Romeo and Juliet. You'll also know from your teaching about Aristotle and the chain of being and how this influences ideas about fate and free will that the audience may have had. You may know that Neoplatonic ideas about the virtues that will lead to a happy and balanced life. However, if characters lack any particular virtues, that may lead to tragedy, and the tragic outcome of this play is down to the hamartia, or the fatal flaws of the protagonists. Okay, so how might we use all of this gold in an opening paragraph that really shows the examiner what we know about the text? Okay, you should probably follow along and make a note of this paragraph. You should do your best to learn this as a model and to write this in an exam. Shakespeare's preeminent tragedy, Romeo and Juliet, demonstrates classical aspects of Greek theatre, including the fatal flaw or hamartia in the protagonists, who lack virtues, according to Aristotle, which leads to their demise. Just a note or two on this opening sentence. Firstly, guys, let's do some key vocabulary for you. Preeminent means greatest. And so in referring to this tragedy as preeminent, you're referencing the fact that Romeo and Juliet is considered the most typical, the greatest example of tragedy in Shakespeare's works. It demonstrates classical aspects of Greek theatre, including the fatal flaw or hamartia, which, as I discussed earlier, the fatal flaw of a character, that one thing about them that perhaps isn't right, that one lack of virtue that leads to, well, a fatality that leads to their death. And you know that the Greeks referred to this fatal flaw as hamartia. This hamartia exists in the protagonists, those leading characters, and that's plural for a reason, because we would say that Romeo and Juliet has two protagonists, both Romeo and Juliet are both central characters, and those central characters lack the virtues, according to Aristotle, which leads to their demise. So the Aristotelian virtues leading to their demise, and demise means end, but particularly downfall, or in this context, really what demise means is death. Okay, the second sentence, you'll notice that both the sentences that we've looked at so far, I've highlighted it to make clear to you, start with Shakespeare's name, and it's important when we're analysing literature that we do so through the author, and so it's always useful to begin your sentences with Shakespeare so that you can be sure that you're focused from Shakespeare's perspective. Shakespeare skillfully presents his audience with populist ideas concerning fate and free will that allude to Aristotle's chain of being, as we see the fall of noble characters to a tragic death. So, once again, you can see this sentence has got some of those key golden ideas in it, including fate and free will and Aristotle's chain of being. Shakespeare skillfully presents his audience with populist. This word populist means having a popular appeal. I put it on the vocab card there for you. Populist ideas concerning fate and free will, and these allude, and that means to hint at or to suggest towards Aristotle's chain of being, as we see the fall of noble characters. So that looks a bit like full, but that should say fall the fall of noble characters towards their tragic death. And for our final sentence, which again contains Shakespeare's name so that we're focused on what he's doing, by including a female protagonist, main character, Shakespeare offers the audience a feminist perspective of an androcentric society. So, as you can see, looking at this, it models for you how it's possible to get your core golden ideas for an essay into your opening paragraph, which will no doubt impress an examiner into seeing the true extent of your knowledge about this text. In case my handwriting is unclear to read, here is an example of a printed copy with the key vocab that I kept there underneath for you. So you can copy this one out yourself, and you can use its ideas to place your own opening paragraph, including the key gold and the vocabularies down there for you. Right, thank you very much for your attention, Year 11. I've been Mr. Perrett, you've been Year 11, and I wish you very good luck in your exams.